1, 2, check 1, 2, blah, 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 blah. So, there we go. These are some examples of what I'll be going over in class. For example, I'll be pulling up idle. I'll be running through some basic shell stuff. Like, for instance, when you say, hello, Python, it doesn't like you very much. This is a good example of how you need to talk to Python in just the right way. For instance, when you want to tell Python words, you have to put them in quotes. Hello, Python. If you don't type your stuff in quotes, it thinks that you're trying to tell it a variable. Now, an example of a variable is like sort of like a math equation. This is something you might have seen a lot before. X equals 3. It understands that. And now, when we tell it X, it knows that X is 3, and it tells us 3 back. Some other stuff you can do with variables. You can add stuff to them after they've been assigned. And you see that gives you 7. X remains 3, however. You've been working on this with your Scratch assignment. Just because you have your angle variable, right, for getting around and figuring out how far you have to turn. And a lot of times you'll add 180 to that or 180 minus that angle, but angle always stays the same unless you use that change box to change the variable to something else. You can do that same thing in Python just by doing the equal statement again. You can change it to 7, and then x will equal 7. You can also do little operators like plus equals 3, and then it will both add 3 to x and assign that value to x. So this is sort of like a combination. It combines the two operators. This is really nifty when you have to increase things by 1. So instead of having to say, well, let's say, for instance, you have, we'll call this an index I, and you set it to equal 0. Now you want to just keep counting. We have this count variable, and we set it equal to 0. And what we're going to do is we're just going to count up with this variable. So how are we going to do that? Well, we have to say, we have to do count plus 1, but we have to make count equal that. So we have to get another variable that remembers the value of this equation. So, okay, let's just do that. We'll do I equals count plus 1, because we need to store the value of count plus 1 so we can make count equal to that value later. Okay, so now we can do the second part. Count equals I. Right? Okay, and we can keep repeating that process. We can keep repeating that process. Alt. What is it? P. Oh, that's kind of bracket. Anyway. P. Fuck. So this is a real pain and something we don't want to do. So instead, we can just combine the operations. We can just say count equals count plus 1. Count equals count plus 1. And then when we look at count, it's that. So we can just keep doing this, and we can just keep counting. And it ends up being 6 at the end. You can even shorten this even more by doing count plus equals 1. Plus equals is sort of shorthand known in a lot of programming languages for an operation just like this, because there's a lot of times you just want to increment a variable you already have, and it just makes things shorter for you there. So it's those. Now we've got to talk about words in Python. Words in Python and in computers in general don't behave the way you'd expect them to for a lot of reasons. Like when you just type in hey into the command line, it doesn't know what you mean. It thinks that you're typing in a variable name right now, which is why it's giving us this name error. It doesn't know a variable named hey. But we can get Python to understand regular words by putting them into quotes as such, like this. And when I say hey, it spits back hey at me. And you'll notice, it's really important here to notice that hey is inside quotes when it repeats it back to us. And that's relevant in just a moment. You can also say hey single quotes, comes back here in single quotes, same thing. You can also say hey in triple quotes. And each one of these means something a little different, but sometimes just the same thing. But just to be clear on everything, let's go over why they're different. So if we say single quotes, hello, I'm Mark, gives us a syntax error. And you'll see the text actually stops turning green right here after the second single quote. Oh, because I'm using a single quote in the I'm, and I'm also trying to denote that this area, these characters in here, all this text is some text that I'm trying to send you. So it gets very confused. I can fix this by double quotes. Hello, I'm Mark. Hello, I'm Maker. Close enough. So now I'm using the different types of quotes so that I can fit the other type of quote in there. But then what if I wanted to say, and then he said, let there be cheese. And then he said, I'm the walrus. Syntax error again, because, well, now we want to use both type of quotes. So we're kind of like, well, we're out of luck. But don't get too hasty there, gentlemen, because here we go with the triple quotes. The triple double quotes coming in to the rescue. And they're going to be able to say, and then he said, I'm the walrus. And then 1, 2, 3 to finish it off. Okay, one small error with this. He said. And you'll notice there, when it spits back this text to you, it doesn't actually look the exact same as it did before. It's got these quotes around it, and it looks like it got the double quotes just fine. But here on this inner single quote, it put a slash before there. Now this slash is what's known in programming. This slash is what's known as an escape character. An escape character basically tells Python, ignore this next little thing I'm putting in. Ignore it. It's not what you think it is. This allows us to do particular things in strings that we wouldn't be able to do before. So for example, we can say, using single quotes, I'm the walrus. And it spits it back just fine there. When I put that backslash in there, Python understands that it's not to think of that single quote as something that is programmatically defining the end of this string. Because usually that's what these single quotes do. When Python sees a single quote, all right, it's like, all right, this is either the start or the end of a string. But when I want it inside the sentence, I don't want to think of it as that. I want it to think of it as just a regular character. And you can do this for all sorts of other things. One of the key ones here is if you want to put a new line in. So if you wanted to say, I'm the walrus, no, double quotes for simplicity, and then we want to make a new line. You do /n, no, you're not. If we do and it worked actually for slashes too. So if you wanted to do like the division symbol in here, like the quotient, I think it's better to do this in print. Like print, what if we wanted to do 3 divided by 3, and we wanted to print that. I don't know why you want to, but if you wanted to do something like that, you'd be like, huh? So that's what escaped 3 looks like. It's a little L up there, fun fact. But if you wanted to print it just like you put it in, you'd have to do XO3. It does weird stuff to the character after it, right? Let's look at how this is just printed off so we can see what this XO3 really is here. Print that. Okay, so that's what the character XO3 looks like when it's printed off. But we don't want it to look like that. We want it to look like it's supposed to look. So we would have to do 3 escape character. We escape the slash so that it knows this is an irregular slash. This is, I just want the slash there. And then it will print off 3, 3. Pretty straightforward there. So that's kind of how escape characters work. One of the other key escape characters that you'll need to know is the new line character. It'll really only come into when you want to print things through the print statement. So if you want to say something like, hi there, Jim, and then you want on another line, hello, Bob, you would do that. This /n is the new line character. Ooh. When you see a /n inside of a string, it means new line. Put a new line right here. So that's what that does. There's also escape characters like /t. /t. There's also new line characters like /t and other things like that for tabbing and other formatting sort of stuff like that. And as you saw before, they're also nifty for putting in like subscripts and other stuff like that if you want to get really crazy. But I don't think we have to do any of that stuff there. And put two strings together. You can take the string hello and add there. And we'll print hello there. This one I should do hello plus there. And it'll print hello there. We never put, notice that they're just stuck straight together. It's not going to put any extra spaces in for you. It's not going to do any formatting for you. It's just going to take the two strings that you give it and it's going to stick them together. It's not going to look for any funny business there. So if we wanted it to print out correctly, we would have to put a space after hello. So we do hello space plus there, and we get hello there back. Do this the same way you do with variables. So we can assign x to Jake, to the string Jake, y to the string is z rad. Z equals rad. And then we can do x plus y plus z, and we get Jake is rad. We want spaces in between there, but it also might be lame to put spaces in those because we might want to use the name Jake in other places and all that stuff. So we want to keep Jake in its own little predefined package because it might get used in different ways. So let's actually put the spaces in plus y plus space plus z. And we get Jake is rad. So you can mix up adding, concatenating variables and regular strings and all that together. Even like this is all just getting to the fact that when you type a variable in, it literally just gets replaced in. This line right here is the exact same thing as, oh god. Is typing it all out by hand. So this is like those variables, the strings get directly replaced in there, and it's the same thing. So variables are just things to store your data. You can do other things besides addition with strings. You can do j times 3. It just spits out 3 j's. You can do jaw times 4. There you go. Troll the Twitch chat ever faster with string multiplication. Dandy. I think you can do this. I don't even know what happens here. Jaw divided by 2. Jaw divided by So division, however, is one thing that strings don't know how to do. You can divide two numbers, but you can't divide strings, or you can't divide a string by two. And all that jazz. And all that jazz. Anyway, this is me talking away from the computer for a second to just test the volume of the microphone. And I want to make sure that everyone in the back hears me and that I'm walking all over the place so I can make sure that the microphone from this computer hears wherever I'm talking. Here's me walking down the center aisle, getting real nitty-gritty with the people I'm trying to connect to on either side of me. And here's me coming back up to the blackboard, standing up front, right in the center, to display things on the chalkboard. And this is me being done with this.